Hello lovely people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie and this is Evolved Chit. It's my little corner of the world where I like to talk about spirituality, metaphysical stuff, universal laws, and psychology. So I am actually traveling this week and I find myself in Seattle for a trip for work, and it's gorgeous here. I've actually been really due for a change in scenery because I've been working a lot, and in wintertime, it always feels like we're just kind of relegated to our homes or a particular space. So even though I'll be indoors for most of this trip, it's really nice to get new scenery and backdrop. Also, when I fly, it's such a cool opportunity to reflect on things and kind of just check out and relax if you can. Flying these days isn't always the funnest or easiest thing to do, but I really enjoy it from the perspective of, it feels like time is almost standing still. When you're up in the sky, when they say that saying like the 50,000 foot view, or in this case, yesterday, I think we were as high as like 37,000 feet. So, and getting some perspective of the 30,000 foot view, it just allowed me to kind of look out the window of the plane and just reflect and contemplate and listening to what was going on around me. And also just having some appreciation for the other 100-ish or more. I don't even know how many people are on that plane. Have some compassion and empathy for what all of us experience in this life as spiritual beings having a human experience. And it got me thinking about a conversation I had recently with my twin flame about our, what our mission is as individuals, or what we feel like we're aligning with in this lifetime. And it goes back to a conversation he and I had a few years ago when we first met, and we were talking about all sorts of things that we're passionate about and love to do. And of course, I talk about like metaphysical stuff, astrology, and so on. And he's also interested in that. So it really makes it easy to have these kinds of conversations. So we were actually talking about the North Node and the South Node. So in astrology, and a quick disclaimer here, I'm not an astrologer. I'm not an astrologer in any kind of certified way. I'm just somebody who knows enough about it to be dangerous, if you will. But to speak somewhat intelligently to it in terms of the aspects and the psychological impacts astrology can have as like who we are as beings, and what's going on collectively. So just a quick disclaimer there on that. So he shared something with me when we had a conversation recently, and it was the first time he shared this with me, and I was really taken aback. And he had said that something I had told him about his North Node and South Node aspects really made an impact on his life. And I just thought that was so incredibly cool, because sometimes we feel like, are people even listening to us when we talk? So I thought that was neat in that respect. But also the fact that it was something he said with just like such gratitude and with such passion, that he said after reading the information I had shared with him about his North Node and South Node aspects, it made so much sense to him as to why he feels he's here, and what's an underlying narrative in his life that he's kind of struggled against. So, for example, his North Node is in Cancer and his South Node is in Capricorn. And what's interesting about that is the physical aspects of what he was emerging from the South Node, and that struggle of letting go of the material and the physical aspects, and just all those things that are the material aspect of Capricorn. And I don't mean material just like money or abundance or things like that. I mean it like physical, like tangible. And so much of that is grounded in who he is, and something that he had to emerge from and get comfortable with, and moving more into that Cancer energy of softness and nurturing and intuition, and something that probably felt really natural to him or a desire to aspire for, but also didn't feel natural to him because of gender roles and society, telling us how men should be, but also how he was raised. And so these things were in absolute contrast to what he was feeling inherently versus what he thought or was taught or thought or felt he should be doing based on the societal, norms and that narrative of who men are and who men are supposed to be, apparently. So I just thought that was so freaking amazing. I was floored when he shared that with me, and really was really humbled by it, because I talk a lot about these things, and I wonder if anyone's, listening or appreciates it or uses it or whatever. I know for me personally, it has been really helpful to look at the North Node and South Node aspects of my chart. And I'll share some links in the comments below so you can learn more about it too if you're interested. But what's really cool about it is in astrology, astrologers say the North Node is what you are here to achieve in this lifetime. It's like your North Star, what you're aspiring for. And your South Node are the characteristics and traits and experiences from previous lives that you are coming in with. For me personally, my South Node is in Gemini and my North Node is in Sagittarius. And when I dug into this understanding, so much of the patterns, the beliefs, I could see rooted in that Gemini energy. Some of it great. I can see how it shows up with some of my creative skills and the way my brain works and things like that. But I could also see some of the negative aspects of it too. And so much of it is when I was younger, really looking at things more so in terms of, how do I want to say this? Because it's such a strong word. I don't want to say gossip because I'm not a gossiper, but it was more so like small talk versus, wisdom or education or higher learning. And I could see how that was showing up in my life in some ways. And not so much in that literal interpretation, but I've become a person who hates small talk. I absolutely hate it. And I mean, you have to do it. It's just a part of life. But I'd rather talk about things that are like, who do you want to be when you grew up? And, what do you think about whatever, or this or that? And having more like philosophical ideas, exchanges, and so on, and experiences that really help evolve and shape who we are as beings in this life. At least for me, that is what what I lean in more towards. And it makes so much sense. And as soon as I realized that, and I could see where some of my other stuff was showing up, that would leave me feeling a little icky when I was doing it. I was like, why am I doing that? That doesn't feel right or good or whatever. But when I would lean more towards the other things, I just felt more at home and felt like I was operating better when I was operating more out of the Sagittarian North Node energy. So it was something that I got to know a lot more about, and it really allowed me to see more about myself and who I am and what I'm working with and the tools that I have to work with, and where I have opportunities to continue to evolve and grow. So, of course, astrology, some people think it's a pseudoscience, and you can say whatever you want about it. I mean, I've seen it be really accurate, even just natal charts, run off of a software program, like shared with them with some friends or even some former colleagues. I had one former coworker crying about something that was in a natal chart I did for them. I was like, oh my God. They just said, I can't believe how specific this was. And that's a software called Wow. And I don't promote them or anything. I actually haven't used their software in a while, but that was one of the best software programs I have ever seen generate reports. The accuracy was really insane from the natal chart perspective. And then also I had a program that did like romantic compatibility charts too. So there's something to be said about that. So if that's something that resonates with you, astrological aspects and how you can use that information as tools to help you on your path and evolve and grow and lean in more to what you feel your mission or your path is in this life, I definitely encourage you to check out North Node and South Node aspect information. And again, I'll put some links in the comments section. There are a couple that I have found to be really interesting and really cool. And the two that I go to most or share with other people that explain this, they're very different from each other as far as like their styles, but the information is incredible. And then once I was learning about this, as I was coaching people and, you know, just I guide a lot of people who are in my life, like family and friends and coworkers and random people. I'd share this information with them too, and amazed. I was just amazed, and also at the same time not amazed at how some of them, are actually all of them, every person I've ever shared this with has said how much that information resonates for them. The tools that they're working with, so their South Node stuff. And then when I say tools, that's like your psyche or just like this inner knowing, your handedness, whatever that might mean to you. But it's like you're coming in with like a tool belt. And that's kind of the way I see that South Node energy is like it's like your some base characteristics, and what you're here to continue to transcend and evolve as we're kind of spiraling up this energetic cord. So they've all said the same thing. They're like, wow, that is something I have never shared with anyone. I've had people say that to me. I've never shared that with anyone, but it is a very natural inclination. That's something I've heard numerous times from people. It's something that sometimes we get so grounded and embedded in like our old energy that we're afraid to transcend into new energy. So that was something else that someone had shared with me, that they were afraid to step into their North Node energy, because even though they knew it was there and they always known it, they felt so attached to their South Node ways, perhaps because of how they were raised or what their belief systems were, but they were able to take that information of the North Node aspect and allow it to guide them and help them feel a little more comfortable in the process, because in a way in which they interpreted it was that this was a part of their destined path and that they wanted to lean into it. So it took that person just a little while to kind of come around to it, but then slowly integrating those inherent feelings of what they felt was true to them and what was true to their path for this life. So, and it's like, hey, like there is something cool about astrology. I mean, it shouldn't be your only guide or the only thing that you use to apply to your life, but it can be such a really cool and valuable tool when you're just looking for some well-rounded information on guiding you on your path. So I wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of narrative on these spiritual journeys and twin flames journey, if that's something that you're on. And after doing a lot of research on this stuff and watching a lot of different coaches and guides and gurus and leaders and everything, there's always this talk about that there's a mission, and what's our mission, and when you meet you're in a mission. And it's funny because when I was first kind of thrust onto this path, I kind of aligned with that, but at the same time I was just like, wow, that's really self-important, and not necessarily in a good way of self-importance, but that to me just felt a little icky. So I wanted to kind of delve into it and be like, well, if I do have this awareness, why do I have this awareness, and what am I supposed to understand from it? So I stepped back from all that mission stuff and stopped giving it a label or a level of importance, and I was just like, well, what's important for me as this person, as Stephanie, in this lifetime? And that's when I was able to kind of dig into all the stuff. And I even looked, again at my natal chart, and I do love getting a solar return chart every year for my birthday, and that's really cool too. So, but I was looking at my natal chart differently, and while those things are cool, they're just like your characteristics, but they're like your cosmic characteristics. It's like, you're born with blonde hair, or you're born with red hair, or, you're born a Sag, or you're born, a Taurus, or whatever. So, and then your Venus is in a certain sign in a certain house. And again, these are just characteristics. It's like your uh, cosmic ethnicity, if you will. It's just your personality traits, and maybe your inclinations, or what you're here to experience in terms of those things. And again, tools to use to help you on your path. But when I look at all of that information, and the information I've consumed over the years when it comes to astrology, I feel like the North and the South Node information has been the most vital and the most important information to me. And it's allowed me to be more actionable, and align with what feels true for me. So I love, when people talk about different things with full moons and this and that, and all of that is great, because, those are real things. And they have an impact on our planet. They have an impact on us. So we do pick up on that energetic vibration and its influence on us. So while I think it's really cool to be like, well, I'm that way because I'm a Scorpio or whatever, that's pretty funny, but who cares? Use it, see it for what it is. It's the same way if you'd be like, well, I'm that way because I'm a blonde. Who cares? You can always dye your hair. So, or people dye their hair. But really, check out that North Node, South Node aspect, and see what it says for you, and what it may mean from the perspective of, what you're here to transcend. So maybe there are things from your past life that you're here to transcend from. Could be, negative aspects of that aspect, or positive things that are here to help you evolve into your North Node aspect. So when I hear people talking about spiritual path, twin flames journey, and mission, this is what I think of, is North Node, South Node stuff. And if we are spiritual beings in human incarnation, and this is our cycle of birth and, birth, death, rebirth, then to me, this is the information that makes the most sense. And I'm saying this from the most basic amateur astrologer kind of way. I would love to get a degree in astrology. If I had the time, it would be awesome. But this information any person can read and use and apply to their lives, and help you, perhaps see some thought patterns and behavioral patterns that you may have brought in, carried in with you into this lifetime. And what are you ready to leave behind and kind of transmute and heal? And, in terms of, who you were previously, or people that you impacted previously. And then how do you use that information to help you, transcend the bullshit and elevate into your highest vibration possible. So one way that you can do that is just a reminder with all the things I talk about in my videos. And it is the number one thing that I have seen work for people and for myself, is getting clear on your shit. And that means the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And it starts with your self-concept. And this way, if you are clear on who you are and what's important to you and what you want to experience in this life, then you're more easily able to, when things show up in your life that are good or not good, you're able to discern that and make a decision and make a choice about how you're showing up and how that is going to affect you. So if you know who you are and what you're here to experience, then when things come in and out of your life, you're able to be a little more resilient with it, and not so dramatic or emotional or erratic or a victim to what's showing up. Because stuff is always showing up in your life. Things aren't always, Pleasantville before before it went to Technicolor, even though that made it better. Um, but it's not always 64 degrees and sunny. Um, you know, in life, rain must fall. So I think that's a nice way to end this video, actually, given that I'm here in Seattle, the Emerald City, and it's going to be raining here when I look at the forecast for the next 10 days, even though I'm just here for the next 4. But remember that. How do you maintain that resilience? How do you stay connected to who you are at your core, no matter what's going on around you? So check out those links in the comment section. And again, I'd just like to remind you to visit my website, evolvedchit.com, and go to the Get Started page, and you'll see resources there on the 7-Day Mindset Reset ebook, which is free. You can download it and get simple exercises, tips and tricks, and tools to use to help you get into alignment with who you are and what you're here to experience in this life. And I'm telling you right now, this is the information that all those coaches, guides, and gurus, this is the stuff they're all preaching, and you're paying for. So I've simplified it. It is what has helped me in many aspects of my life, and I intend it's going to help you too. So I'd like to remind you that you are loved, you are necessary, and you are so needed. So step into your power. And until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and good vibes for your journey. Bye.